They called 911 to evict me from my own land, branding me a trespasser on my family's 40-acre ranch. But 6 months later, they discovered I was the deputy sheriff who'd been locking up fraudsters. For 15 years, standing on my porch in Cedar Hollow, Oregon, steam curling from my coffee as dawn gilded the hills with molten gold, the 911 dispatcher's voice crackling through my phone. "Sir, you're trespassing and must vacate immediately." I laughed, pulling out my badge, its silver glint catching the morning light. "Ma'am, tell the caller Deputy Sheriff Elliot Kane is exactly where he belongs." Through the pristine window of her McMansion, Lillian Carver's face drained to the color of fresh snow, her $1,000 binoculars frozen in her grip like a suburban spymaster caught in her own trap, the air thick with the scent of cedar, fresh hay, and the faint tang of tractor fuel, signaling a battle I was forged to win. Have you ever faced a neighbor who thought they could steal your home with a single phone call? I'm Elliot Kane, 45, a deputy sheriff who, after a soul-crushing divorce last spring, returned to my grandfather's ranch in Cedar Hollow, a 1943 purchase made with his GI Bill savings after surviving the beaches of Normandy. 40 acres of rolling green hills where I learned to mend fences at 9, dreaming of a quiet retirement under starlit skies and whispering pines, the kind of place where the crunch of gravel under boots and the distant bleat of Daisy, my gentle goat, felt like a promise of peace. But 5 years ago, Maple Grove Estates sprouted next door, 47 cookie-cutter mansions with identical mailboxes and manicured lawns that seemed to mock the wild beauty of my land. Most neighbors were gems, flocking to my farm stand for crisp carrots and sweet tomatoes, their kids giggling as Daisy nibbled their shoelaces, swapping stories over baskets of zucchini. They'd linger on my porch, the scent of fresh basil mixing with their laughter. But Lillian Carver, 52, a real estate agent with a $500 blowout and a psychology PhD she wielded like a gavel, had other plans. Her husband Thomas owned Carver Construction, the builders of Maple Grove, their ostentatious mansion's lawn guzzling more water in a week than my entire crop field used in a month, their wealth built on developments that flattened places like mine for profit. Trouble erupted on a sweltering July morning when Lillian's designer heels crunched across my gravel drive. Her jasmine perfume so overpowering it froze my chicken's mid-peck. She waved a manila folder thick as a brick, her voice dripping with condescension. "Mr. Kane, your farm violates Maple Grove HOA covenants, grandfathered or not." I smirked, wiping engine grease from my calloused hands. "After tuning my tractor, ma'am, my deeds predate your HOA by 70 years, but she insisted my property fell under their rules, demanding I dismantle my barn, chicken coop, and farm stand, threatening $500 daily fines for aesthetic noncompliance." Her eyes glinting with a predatory hunger that screamed land grab. I sensed Carver Construction coveted my 40 acres for a multi-million-dollar luxury subdivision, their $2 million prize if they could oust the stubborn hillbilly deputy who dared to live simply. 15 years in law enforcement, busting drug rings, fraud schemes, and corrupt officials taught me to trust my gut, so I plunged into the county archives, the musty air heavy with the scent of old paper and ink, my fingers tracing yellowed records. Under flickering fluorescent lights, uncovering Lillian's real estate license scarred by 3 ethics violations, Carver Construction entangled in city council bribes through a shell company, Hollow Ventures, and $250,000 in missing HOA funds siphoned into Lillian's personal accounts, bank statements revealing lavish European vacations, a new BMW, and a pool renovation disguised as community improvements, the paper trail a prosecutor's dream. Lillian escalated, filing a zoning complaint with the county, claiming my farm was a public health hazard, attracting rodents with animal waste. Her petition scraping a pathetic 10 of 47 signatures from Maple Grove's residents. Her social media posts twisting my pristine ranch into a post-apocalyptic slum with cleverly angled photos that made my chicken coop look like a condemned shack. But she overlooked a critical detail buried in the Maple Grove HOA Charter, subsection 14b. My agricultural land was permanently exempt from all aesthetic and operational restrictions. 2 beautiful words. Permanently exempt. that rendered her campaign a house of cards. I called her bluff, requesting a county health inspection. Marla Dixon, a no-nonsense inspector with 20 years' experience, toured my property, testing soil samples, inspecting Daisy's hooves, and chuckling. "Elliot, this farm's cleaner than a surgical ward. You could eat off this barn floor." Her glowing report a stinging rebuke to Lillian's lies. One evening, Thomas slunk over under the cover of dusk, his eyes darting nervously, as if Lillian might be watching, offering $1.5 million cash to sell, his hushed tone betraying fear of her wrath. "Elliot, name your price. We'll handle the paperwork." I declined, my voice firm. "This land's not for sale." "At any price." His shoulders slumped, the weight of his wife's obsession clear in his defeated sigh. My refusal only fueled Lillian's fury. She cut my power, citing emergency grid repairs that never happened, blocked my driveway with endless road work that stranded delivery trucks, forcing me to haul groceries through the woods, the diesel fumes from idle construction rigs choking the air. Her cousin Miles Grayson, a low-level EPA official, launched a sham probe into my farm for groundwater contamination, an absurdity since my land used rainwater systems, the harassment piling up like the dust on my untouched mailbox. My garage transformed into a war room, walls plastered with evidence boards, red string weaving Lillian's crimes into a damning tapestry, every interaction documented, every threat recorded. Oregon's one-party consent law my secret weapon, just as I'd used it in domestic violence cases. Edna Walsh, a 74-year-old retired clerk with a memory sharp as a tack, slipped me a gold mine. The HOA's original charter and covert recordings of Lillian threatening neighbors over trivialities like rose gardens, unapproved paint shades, or mailbox shapes. Edna's voice trembled with indignation. She fined me $2,000 for my petunias, said they clashed with the neighborhood palette. My sheriff buddies traced Lillian's smear campaign, fake social media posts branding me a corrupt cop running a drug front, to her office IP address. Neighbors rallied at my weekend barbecues, the sizzle of burgers and shared outrage drawing dozens. The Hendersons revealed a $6,000 fine for a flower bed. The Martinez family nearly lost their home over non-compliant shutters. Young couples shared stories of being driven out by Lillian's ever-shifting rules. We built a class action case, exposing her systematic targeting of elderly and minority residents, a blatant violation of the Fair Housing Act. The community's anger grew, fueled by the scent of grilled corn and the realization they'd been fleeced by a tyrant in designer heels. I leveraged my law enforcement network, my old partner Detective Sam Reed coordinating with state investigators who'd seen similar HOA scams across Oregon. Lillian's desperation surged, hiring Vince Malone, a disgraced contractor with a rap sheet for cutting corners, for $8,000 to sabotage my irrigation system. His girlfriend Clara tipped off Sam, spilling the plan over a diner coffee. We set a sting, hidden cameras catching Vince at 2 a.m., dumping herbicide near my crops, the wind hilariously blowing it onto Lillian's prized lawn, killing her manicured grass and splotchy patches. Her lawn's ruin a poetic jab that had neighbors' stifling laughs. Lillian's next move was reckless. She filed false 911 calls, claiming I was dealing drugs from my farm stand, describing families buying zucchini as suspicious package exchanges and my late-night tractor repairs as clandestine operations. Her reports triggered a DEA probe. Agent Laura Pike arrived with a SWAT team, expecting a cartel, only to find rows of tomatoes and Daisy chewing grass. Laura's face reddened with fury. "This is systematic fraud, wasting federal resources," she seethed. Lillian bribed County Inspector Bob Hayes with $3,000 to condemn my barn as structurally unsafe. But Bob, a 30-year veteran who'd inspected my barn twice, reported her immediately. "She wanted me to lie and risk lives for her vendetta," he told Sam. Her social media spiraled into paranoia, posting blurry photos of my farm stand, labeling routine veggie sales agricultural terrorism. Her rants became a community joke, neighbors sharing them as evidence of her unraveling. She tried bribing a private investigator, Marcus Tate, with $5,000 to fabricate evidence of my crimes. He turned her in, adding another felony to her tally. her fake HOA letters to my customers, threatening them as accessories to criminal activity, piled on witness intimidation charges. The state agriculture department laughed off her 40-page complaint, filled with illegally collected soil samples from her trespassing stints. My farm earning a sustainability award instead. The irony so thick you could cut it with a pitchfork. Lillian's desperation climaxed with a mandatory community meeting, threatening non-attendees with lawsuits, her sham letterhead promising to expose my criminal empire. She'd hired a videographer to capture her triumph, oblivious to the trap closing around her. The Cedar Hollow community center buzzed with tension. 80 people packed shoulder to shoulder, local Channel 9 cameras rolling. Lillian, in a tailored silk suit, her platinum hair gleaming under fluorescent lights, presented poster boards plastered with blurry photos of families buying carrots, labeled drug deals, and audio clips of farm stand chatter, which she called coded criminal communications. Her voice shrill. Elliot Kane's corrupt badge shields his crimes, threatening our community's safety. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, sensing her delusion, whispers rippling as her evidence crumbled into absurdity. I stood, my badge catching the light, boots echoing on the hardwood floor like a gavel strike. Lillian Carver, you're under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, false reporting, witness intimidation, and operating an illegal organization. Her scream, "I'm the victim," was drowned by gasps as I snapped the cuffs on her wrists, her silk suit wrinkling as she thrashed. Agent Laura Pike stepped forward, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Mrs. Carver, you're also under federal arrest for wire fraud, mail fraud, and tax evasion, totaling $300,000 stolen from your neighbors." Lillian's HOA was a complete sham, never incorporated, just a personal bank account funding European getaways, a new BMW, and a pool renovation listed as community improvements. The crowd erupted in applause, Edna Walsh leaping to her feet, shouting, "She terrorized us for years." Lillian's perp walk aired live on Channel 9, her cries of communist conspiracy fading as deputies led her to a squad car. The community exhaled, justice tasting sweeter than my grandmother's peach cobbler. Neighbors lingered, shaking my hand, sharing their own stories of Lillian's tyranny, fines for birdhouses, threats over fence heights, families driven out by her relentless harassment. 6 months later, the gavel fell hard. Lillian Carver was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison with no parole, ordered to pay $500,000 in restitution to Maple Grove residents. Thomas received 3 years for his role in the fraud, his complicity in Hollow Ventures bribes. Exposed. Vince Malone got 2 years for conspiracy. Bob Hayes' testimony sealing their fates. Maple Grove residents recovered $10,000 per household, a financial lifeline for families like the Martinezes, who used it to save their home. The community formed a legitimate HOA with transparent finances, elected board members, and a permanent bylaw protecting agricultural operations. My farm blossomed into a thriving cooperative, featuring produce from neighboring ranches, drawing families from across Oregon. The Cedar Hollow Harvest Festival became a county staple, raising $30,000 for scholarships to send local kids to college for agriculture, law, and journalism, prioritizing those from marginalized communities. Lillian had targeted. My book, Fields of Justice, hit bestseller lists, its pages chronicling our fight and sparking HOA reform laws in 5 states, mandating transparency, democratic elections, and criminal background checks for board members. I married Dr. Anna Wells, the veterinarian who stood by me through the chaos. Under the apple trees Lillian once tried to destroy, our wedding a celebration of community, the sizzle of barbecue, and children's laughter echoing through the valley. Neighbors turned family dancing under string lights. Cedar Hollow transformed. Block parties replaced petty disputes. Shared gardens bloomed where complaints once festered. A solar cooperative slashed energy costs by 30%. Excess produce feeding the local food bank. My speaking tours at law schools, civic groups, and even a congressional hearing spread lessons of resilience, inspiring a Federal Trade Commission task force on HOA abuses, its investigations uncovering similar scams nationwide. Thomas rebuilt his reputation, pivoting Carver construction to farm-friendly developments that preserved rural livelihoods, a redemption arc no one saw coming. His public apology and restitution to past victims earning cautious respect. Cedar Hollow's property values soared, not because of uniformity, but because it became a national symbol of community triumph over tyranny. My morning coffee now tastes of hard-won victory. Sipped on my rebuilt porch as Daisy grazes nearby, the sunrise painting the hills gold, the valley alive with the hum of a community reborn. Yet, as I watch the dawn, I wonder if 5 years was enough for Lillian's crimes, her fraud shredded Cedar Hollow's trust, targeting the vulnerable, exploiting neighbors for personal gain. The scars of her reign linger in the stories of families like the Hendersons, who nearly lost everything, rebuilding forged bonds stronger than ever. But was her sentence justice, or should I have pushed for a decade to send a louder message to future tyrants? Where's the line between vengeance and accountability when your home, your legacy, is targeted by someone who sees your dreams as an obstacle to their greed? Lillian's downfall birthed a movement, but it cost us years of peace, countless nights of worry, and a community's soul laid bare. Her desperation revealed her weakness, but it also showed the power of ordinary people standing together, refusing to bow to fake authority. Share your HOA horror stories below. What's true justice in neighborhood wars? Did I go far enough? Or should I have fought for harsher consequences to protect others from petty tyrants? Like, subscribe, and join the fight against backyard despots who think they can bully your dreams into submission. Your story could be the spark that changes everything.